What is going on, you guys? It's Sanjay and Yuxin back for another episode of the CRO Rodeo. And today we're going to talk about probably a brand that we both have a love affair with. I've been a customer of theirs, but we worked them for a little bit, and honestly, I just think they do such a good job. So it's going to be a little different than our last CRO Rodeo episode in the sense of we're going to go through a lot of the things that we did last time, their website, their ad library on Facebook, and we're going to take a look at their tech stack using Built With. But we're also going to kind of like try to surface what they do well and how you can do it. So that's how this episode's going to be a little different than the last time. Yuxin, welcome back. You ready to go get after it?
Yep, let's do it.
I will say, having this website pulled up takes me back to being a customer. I somewhat tempted to subscribe once again. It was quite good.
Well, now you can only subscribe apparently. So
it's pretty smart, honestly. I think not a ton of brands can actually pull that off, but it makes it's a product worth subscribing to.
Yeah,
and I don't get paid to say that.
we don't get paid for any of those, so cool. All right, let's take a look at what they're using. Cool. So just for new viewers of this this channel, this is what Jot Coffee their homepage looks like. So just walking through here, there's a very clear kind of call to action here, which is this free welcome gift. And then when you click into it, there's actually kind of basically you can actually pick your free gift, and they have these 2 mugs and then also this kind of coffee set here. I think they literally just added this because when I was looking a while back, I don't know if this was here, but I think this is pretty recent. But these are all free, and then once you select one of these, and this is like their entire website, so there's actually not really much else you can go. Like literally the menu's not even on here, and so that's actually really interesting from a merchandising point of view. And then, for example, if you select this, yeah, go ahead.
I'll let you go. Go.
Oh, no. I was just gonna say once you select one of these, it actually adds it to this kind of like fake cart here, where it shows you everything that you added, and then you can continue to check out. There's like a cute countdown timer here. There's like a free, there's like a cute kind of like total here, and then this actually takes you to the real cart, and this is like their entire website. Like there's no catalog somewhere. I'm sure you can find it probably, but
there's one page I found.
Yeah, I think if you if you're on mobile, there's like a hamburger menu where you can actually go to their real products. But I think this funnel works really well for them. And then so this is actually like not even bundled together. This is just a merchandising thing they have on their website, and then it just gets put in as separate orders. And then you do kind of get the free mug. So yeah.
So there are a couple things that I want to call out here. First, actually, if you go onto the desktop site, onto the homepage, there's a little shop button, and that's like the only place where you can actually see the catalog. It actually redirects you to a product page where you can do a one-time purchase, or it's again like the main offer is like their core welcome offer.
Yeah.
But what I love about this is there's one other brand that I know that kind of like does this like kind of like somewhat forced experience where it's like, this is like what we want you to do. Eliminate the paradox of choice. This is the flow. And that's like AG1, Athletic Greens. And Athletic Greens has built a, $100 million plus business off of like optimizing the same funnel for the last 10, 12, 15 years. Yeah. And it's kind of the same experience where it's like, hey, like here's this, get exact like, and this is actually a new version that we're looking at. I haven't actually seen this one yet, and I look at this page quite often. But it's a very specific like, hey, like we know like our fixed cost on this offer, and we know what our target CPA is, and we're just gonna like, and we also know what the LT. I'm sure they have like the Jot team, and I know for a fact AG1, their team, they know their numbers so well. They know what their targets are. They know what their LTV is in months and dollars. They know the little things that they can do to adjust that. And it's just pushing everybody to one specific funnel that just gets optimized over and over and over again. and having talked with the Jot team, having, interact with them, honestly seeing them build on Replo, this is a company that is incredibly data driven, and they just go to the truth every single time. Like they don't have any real, like, they don't have a ton of emotion on like what the data is going to reveal, but they're just they're so good. I love these, like, for like one product businesses, which this is a functionally one product business, AG1 as well. It is such a great thing to build this type of specific funnel, especially when it's a consumable and you're primarily pushing people to subscription.
How do you think about like the unit economics of this? Like, is it something where you kind of just have to break even on the first product, and then, because these are all subscription businesses, right? They're not only just one SKU businesses, they're also subscription businesses. So how do you kind of recommend going about kind of thinking about the unit economics of this?
Yeah, I had a really weird conversation with the folks over at Atlas Coffee Club, also built on Shopify. And, I talked to them. I first met their founder a couple of years ago, and they do the same thing. It's like, hey, they push directly to subscription. And they were, I think using Recharge to do so. And the way he explained it to me was like, when they first started, acquisition costs were much, much lower than they are now. But even now, like, they're still able to scale pretty aggressively. You have to either be comfortable losing money on the front end and be very confident in your retention, and have like some idea or like, if you're an established brand, you have a pretty good idea of what your LTV is in months and in dollars. And so you can build like a payback timeline and build like when you're profitable and how much you're going to be profitable from that. And then you can actually like adjust your marketing to just go after the cohorts that feed that model. That's the thing that a lot of people don't do, is that they just try to keep filling the funnel with every customer rather than just trying to prioritize the customers that fit those KPIs. If you're completely new to it, I think it's really critical to have an I mean, how much money you have in your bank, how long before you're dead. So you try to build a model that you can actually work to, try to break even as best as you can. And then there might be some things that, you can do on the offer side that allow you to lower your CPA virtually, not actually, like whether it's digital products, partnering with other folks. I know one company that was in the real, like the natural dog food space, delivered weekly. They partnered with pet insurance company. And so they would basically get a CPL kickback. And so that reduced their their cost per acquisition by $20 each time just from that.
And so what's the best way? Yeah. And what's the best way, like, I'm just kind of thinking through this, like would landing pages be the best way to test this? Like, because like this is pretty ballsy of them to kind of just make it their homepage, right? And so like not only is paid traffic going in that direction, organic traffic is also going in that direction. And so I think making that jump is very difficult for a lot of brands, because right now their homepage probably is something totally different, right? And so how did they get here? Is it just going through many different landing pages, testing out which campaigns work, trying to figure out kind of like the unit economics of each kind of step in that funnel, and then just at some point making that leap of faith? Or
just from the limited conversations that we've had about this, like at this level of depth with the Jot team specifically, and then being able to kind of like reverse engineer what they're doing based on our access at Replo, but also just looking at what they have on Facebook ads library. It seems that it was very much, okay, like we have a homepage experience. We'll eventually get to the point where this like core offer can live on the homepage as well. But it is setting up the landing pages and being very deliberate about driving the right traffic, but just to that funnel exclusively, and then optimizing that to the nth degree. If you go to ad library, I don't know if you have it pulled up, but if you go to the ad library, and all of these pages, they go to these, the template for these pages is pretty much the same. I think they have some ads for their caramel product, and then most of them are just for their main like welcome kit. But the structure of the page is the same. It's like going to this welcome coffee kit, and and this, look, you got the Wayback Machine pulled up. Yeah, walk us through what we're looking at right now.
My bad.
No, you're good.
I was looking at how their website kind of progressed over time, which I think will be interesting to look at. But cool, this is the page.
Yeah. Dude, your internet's taking forever to load.
It's a video, that's why.
But it is, you know, everything that all the traffic that they're driving through is to this core offer of like, hey, here's this like fresh brewed coffee instantly and get started and get a free gift. Yeah. And then it shows you all the value. So you're literally paying $39 for this big old value prop, right? You're getting a free mug, you're getting, you know, a couple extra products, like so on and so forth. Like you get the seasonal product, the spoon, I'm sure I have that spoon somewhere. It's a unique spoon. I think it's a pretty interesting tool in and of itself. But every single ad, every single touch point that they have on the acquisition side points to a page that drives to this single kit. Yeah. And then at that point, it's like, okay, what's the click-through rate from the ad to the landing page? Cool, great. This is at a healthy place. What's the click-through rate from the hero section to the buy box? And then you just step by step work your way to getting your numbers where you need, adjusting the content, adjusting the layouts, so on and so forth. And it just seems, based on just looking at, you know, some of the stuff in the back end that we get access to, but again, having watched this brand and having been a customer in the past, they've just been ruthless about iterating on this core offer for years now.
I guess like there's kind of two minds here when most brands see this, right? It's like there's kind of the design and kind of the merchandising and kind of, I guess just the layout of the page, right? And what that looks like. I feel like a lot of people get really fixated on that. And then there's also, which I think is for good reason. And then there's also kind of the offer itself and the unit economics of that offer, right? Even down to like whether or not they're offering the spoon. It's like the spoon's probably super cheap, you know, on the back end, but you know, like the spoon always shows up in their offers. So it's like, okay, cool. Like how does the unit economics of that work? I guess for a brand just starting to test this, let's say they have a hero kind of product that they sell. They're trying to get into kind of this kind of strategy and testing it and seeing whether it works. What is kind of like the order of operations here? Is it more on the offer? Is it more on the layout of the page? How would you go about that?
Yeah, I would forget the layout. The layout can come last, honestly. You have to get your offer right. And a good friend of ours, Matt Larson, he actually kind of like helped me understand the process of building a great offer. It's like the first thing and Alex Hormozy fans can probably also go read $100 million offers and do the same thing. But like, take a piece of paper out, write the craziest stuff possible, and then whittle your way back to something that's still really high value. But like, okay, so write the craziest offers possible, then try to assign like each of the line items that you would want to include. What is the actual cost for that? And not just like the product cost, but what is like, is there kitting cost? Is like, what other back end costs do you think could exist? And then after you do that, you spend an hour on that, you can spend probably like 30 minutes like cutting away stuff that you just can't offer, you can't include. Yeah. But you probably would find yourself surprised by the things that you can include and it still makes sense. There's also like, again, like going back to cash on hand and like your tolerances. Like if you don't have the cash on hand to sustain taking a loss in month one, then you're going to have to figure out a way to like get your AOV up anyway. You're going to have to build AOV up anyway to be able to at least break even on purchase one.
But I will say that it doesn't actually, like, I think it may seem kind of, because we're now living in the future, it almost seems like Ja and Athletic Greens, like they kind of bet the future of the company on kind of this funnel, right? And as far as I know, they don't sell wholesale currently, or at least Ja, I don't think does. So like e-commerce is most of their business, I'm assuming. And so, but I think you can actually put a fairly small budget behind the landing page and just like make sure that the unit economics of this does work out. And you would probably have to measure those customers who purchase through that funnel for a few months to see, because these are subscription businesses. So you also need to look at the monthly drop off rate for each. And probably, 6 months in, like it does take time for the data to bake before you're really able to make a decision. Because if you're just looking at month one, it's like everyone's going to be a loser because you're most likely losing money on this initial offer.
Yep. one of the things that I will call out, and this is something that's very true for athletic greens, like people know AG1, athletic greens, the sexy branding, the TV ads, all that stuff now, but that did not happen for the first 10, 12 years of the business. It was an affiliate marketing masterclass for 10 years. Like I remember when I first started, like I was in high school probably, and I was like, how to make money online. And one of the first things that came up was affiliate marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the first offers that I found that was really powerful, that was like highly rated, was Athletic Greens. I still have like an old Facebook page called Athletic Greens where I was trying to like run this. And the beauty of that is you can assign, so you have your fixed cost on the product. You can also assign like a fixed payout for your affiliates. And then a lot of the variability and a lot of like kind of the wasted spend fear that people have, the kind of the shift on that cash flow constraint goes to your affiliate marketers and not so much you. And so if you've structured your affiliate offer well, and it's something that affiliates want to participate in, basically make some money, then they can kind of pay for the testing for you. And, it's not as much of a cash constraint.
Okay, so that's really interesting. So how would people kind of go about kind of starting this affiliate marketing kind of, because I'm assuming it took Athletic Greens years to do this, but I'm assuming it's here.
I mean, probably like 10 years for them to get to like $100 million run rate, I think. I think the way that if I were to like, if I had a consumable product and I wanted to push this like subscription first funnel, I would probably go to like an affiliate marketplace like Square Dance. And the reason Square Dance, and full disclosure, we've worked with them in the past. We don't have any sort of monetary contract or anything like that, but they're good friends of ours. They have so much more data than the average affiliate marketplace on what offers work and what don't. So you can go in and look at like, okay, here's like the funnel structures that are working really well. You can kind of crib some ideas. You can also, they have a lot of guidance, and they help their merchants set the right kind of payout thresholds. So like like what they actually pay, what you actually pay the affiliate. So I think they pour into their affiliates or their merchants a lot more than the average marketplace. But I would probably go to Square Dance, talk to some folks out there, go through some of their training, and set up your initial program through a platform like that. Go to one of the bigger platforms. I would not recommend trying to harvest affiliates one-on-one out of the gate if you've never done it before.
Got it. Makes sense. Cool.
Looking at their tech stack on Built With, one of the things that I'll call out, Caro is a really interesting one because it's a Shopify cross-selling app. So basically, let's say I run a insulated mug company. Let's say I run Yeti, for example, and I want people to be able to buy like, and my post-purchase offer in some part of my funnel, like, add Jot coffee. Like it's a one-click ad, all one checkout, but then you like Jot would receive the payment and then they ship it out. It's like kind of like drop shipping in a way. But it's a pretty cool tool. I'm starting to see that pop up more and more.
That's almost kind of like affiliate marketing, but with other brands in some ways, right? Which is interesting.
Yeah. Retention.com is an interesting call out. For those of you not familiar, retention.com, they uses, it's like identity resolution software. So basically taking anonymized data and then basically recreating like what the email address is. I think retention.com's core offer is even if someone's not, filling out a form or like logging in, they're able to figure out what email it is and then pipe that into your Klaviyo account or your whatever ESP you're using.
Nice. Kind of going through here. Junip for product reviews.
Yep. It's a good one.
Cool.
I think we need to get set up on Built With is what I'm trying to see. Because I know some data that I
Well, I think we're here to talk about funnels, so it's all good. But I don't think we even show up on Built With, which is,
I don't think we do yet, which I think we might need to add it, but it's a to-do list for me.
It's probably because we don't have any footprint on your store.
I guess that makes sense.
We push Replo just pushes code like if a developer wrote it. So there's no like identifying evidence that like it's actually built with Replo, which is like a huge selling point for brands, because it like we don't slow down your site, we don't add crap onto your website, but it's probably hard to tell that it's built with our platform. So cool. I'm actually also just interested in kind of pointing out like kind of the journey that they went through with like this was their website in 2022. And if you can go back even further, where they just like, this was not really, I don't think, a funnel. This was just actually just going directly to their product page. This is loading very slowly, but
it's an archive after all. I mean, I remember when Jot, I hope it was like when they launched, but at least like this iteration of the business.
I remember this because I remember looking at their site right when we were starting Replo, and I remember that this is what it looked like 2022.
It was more of like a traditional e-commerce experience, and they weren't pot committed on the push to subscription out of the gate. Yeah. And it's a big bet. It's a big bet.
But I remember they were testing this in their landing pages already at the time.
Yep.
Especially with like the free gifts. Like I think even at this point they had the free spoon. I think some of the other stuff they added on later, but this is a much more traditional. I mean, there's some fun elements on this page, I think. But I think one other interesting thing to point out also is that it just focuses the company on one metric. And like everyone is focused towards optimizing this one kind of fairly linear problem. And so it's like, if the numbers don't look good or the metrics don't look good, it's like, it is very clear what the problem is. It's very clear what levers you need to pull as a business. And it just simplifies the whole problem. I think we look at so many other sites where it's not super clear where, customers are coming from. There's not clear attribution even on the side of the business. So there's like so many steps that they need to take to even figure out what the problem is before they can start solving it. And the way Jot has constructed their business, which potentially is kind of hindsight 2020, but they've kind of created a process where it is very easy to optimize, like with a small team. And I think that's super powerful. It just makes life so much easier.
Yeah,
is what I'm trying to say.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Yeah, it's having that clarity on what you need to solve, like that hero metric, that one core metric, the one number that matters. Like I will say, I think it might be a luxury too for a lot of e-commerce businesses. I don't think every e-commerce brand can even get to this point just by nature of the products that they sell, even. But if you can do this, it is a really beautiful thing. And I think the number one lesson that I would share with anybody that was imparted on me, again, by the Atlas Coffee Club folks, is you can pick your customers. You can tune your marketing such that you are acquiring customers that fit the KPIs of your business. And that, goes down to channel selection, the type of media that you run, the angles that you run, so on and so forth. But if you're thinking about switching to something like Jot or an Athletic Greens, make sure you have that in mind. And then the last piece of advice to share is you don't always have to be the one footing the initial ad spend bill. Leverage affiliates to do some of that testing for you, and find people that are willing to work with you to get this right. People that you can build with for the long term. They exist. Harder to find, but they exist.
I guess like one question I have is, how is this really different because most brands, they don't have a single SKU, right? They don't have a single product. They have multiple products. There might be a hero product that sells really, really well, but generally I think when brands launch, they have, a few products, and then over time, as they try to expand kind of their addressable market, they're launching new products. They're, kind of removing older products. Is it possible to build a funnel like this, or kind of an acquisition channel like this, when you have multiple products? And like, how would that how would you go about that, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean, I think you would go about it the same way that Jot did, really. Like, you,
Like,
despite
would
the
you
fact
just
that Jot
pretend like
only,
you had one product and you were like, cool, this is my hero product. I'm going to focus on this
Mhm. Yeah,
and kind of
I
do
mean,
that
like,
n times.
yeah, and then the nice thing is, on your pre-purchase, your post-purchase, upsell opportunities, you have the rest of your catalog to offer them. Let's say you're in supplements, right? You've got one
Yeah.
hero product that's like your debloat pill, and then you've got a protein powder and a greens powder.
Yeah.
Maybe it's your protein that's the hero. Whatever the case may be, you've got those other products alongside that you can bring in as cross sell or upsell opportunities. But you're pushing, and then again, knowing that, okay, we have these number of active subscriptions every day or every month at this price point means that we have
Yeah.
this much like revenue coming in, kind of somewhat guaranteed. You can layer your churn in there as well. That gives you a lot of flexibility on what you're doing outside of the business for scale, where you can deploy acquisition dollars, where you can deploy, new product development stuff, et cetera. It builds a lot of predictability that most e-commerce brands, again, just do not have.
Got it. So it's almost like you're pretending like you had one kind of SKU and then you're selling people on kind of that hero product.
Yep.
But actually kind of once they actually buy the product, they're in that kind of cohort of customers that purchase the product. You're kind of continually upselling them. They're much
Yep.
higher intent because they've already purchased something from you. They're on a recurring subscription, hopefully. And it just makes it that much easier to acquire that customer. And then before you know it, they just have super high LTV because there's so many products in your catalog that could
Right.
potentially be upsold and resold over time.
Yep.
That makes a lot of sense. I think that's actually very applicable advice to a lot of people. Is like, because most people don't have a single product, right? They look at this, they're like, cool, I can't do shit here because
Yep.
this is a different business.
Yep.
But I think this is actually a model, and there's a lot of like lessons here that could be used in across many, many different verticals. So
here's a thought exercise before we leave. Obviously, if you have a consumable, it makes it a lot easier for this to happen. If, let's say, you have an apparel company, let's say you make like shirts and pants or something, or even just shirts. How do you think, like, how would you introduce that like recurring aspect to it? Or like, what would you think about like product development or offer development that would fit this model?
I think I would need to know a little bit more about the business and specifically the unit economics of what they're selling, right? So if you're looking at something where the individual SKUs are fairly cheap, I think there's also a huge aspect of this, which is kind of the back office, kind of logistics, shipping, all of that. I think Jot has done their product is quite creative in a sense that they're selling something that's fairly, like, they're not selling individual kind of cans of coffee or something like that, right?
Right.
It's a concentrate, so their packaging is a lot smaller. The cost of shipping it is probably much cheaper in the grand scheme of things compared to some other products that are sold online. And so I think that's definitely a factor. I think something that you mentioned earlier was that, like, if you had many, many different products, you kind of like follow the same recipe. And I feel like that is true. Like, if we had infinite resources and infinite like manpower, like, I would just, even if you had 1,000 SKUs, I would create, like, in a perfect world, at the limit, if you had perfect targeting and you had perfect like infinite bandwidth, you would basically create a funnel that's hyper targeted, just like Jot, for every single product, right? And so I almost feel like if you take your hero product, like, I don't know, we were looking at this backpack company that did the F1 collaboration, right? It's like, I don't know if that's their hero product, but if that was the hero product, I would build the shit out of that specific funnel, test it, and then be like, okay, cool, we learned this about our line of backpacks. How does this apply to our other lines of products, right? And then it's like something easy. Like, if the unit economics works out, it's like, then it's less of a strategic thing and a financial modeling thing. It's more of just like an execution thing. And then you can just hire someone to, just replicate that process across all of your products. But I would still start with maybe one product. There is a kind of asterisk here, which is, if the unit economics of your business require you to have very high AOV and your products are fairly cheap, relative to AOV, aka like you need to like add a bunch of stuff into the cart for kind of shipping to be worth it or whatever that may be. I think this holds true in a few different businesses. I think that's maybe more challenging. I feel like there's probably some, because you not only don't have that recurring revenue through the subscription, you also have very high upfront, like very high base costs. So for example, like frozen goods that are not like recurring subscriptions, right? Like, and I feel like in that case, the unit economics are quite challenging. So either pushing people into kind of that recurring model or potentially bundling products together or having some sort of offer where people are purchasing multiple products so that the unit economics does work out. But yeah, I think you're kind of starting from like a little bit of a deficit there. I don't know.
It goes back to offer construction, right? Yeah. Like if you're if you can only afford a $5 cost per acquisition, it's going to be harder. If you can bundle some of your products, create, find complementary products.
Yeah.
Maybe it's through using tools like Caro, for example. Build an offer that you can actually be profitable on the front end, or at least break even on the acquisition side.
Yeah.
That puts you in a completely different ball game, and it's going to require some creativity and some brain power. It's not impossible. And I think to kind of call back to the question that I asked you about, like, okay, how would a t-shirt company do this? Like, it's also okay to not have recurring kind of baked into it. You can also just worry about like customer acquisition. The backpack company that we looked at,
one game you can play to, right? Like you're basically moving a bunch of chess pieces, and you're like, okay, cool. Like, where can I actually offset the cost of customer acquisition?
Right.
And it's either in the recurring model, it could be in the affiliates model, and it could be in a bunch of other places, right? That we probably haven't even talked about. So,
yeah, I mean, and just the backpack example, like if they get their offer right for their backpack, and they can cross sell the patches, they can cross sell the accessories, and I'm sure the margins on that are actually much bigger, and maybe not, but like there's plenty of profit opportunity with those things as well, and other colorways, collabs, so on and so forth. So a lot of different ways to skin the cat. We'll probably have to spend more time just talking about offer construction at a later date, but there's a lot of cool lessons to learn from Jot, and there's a lot of cool stuff just to see like how they've pulled this off in Replo. Like I'm honestly really impressed by what they've done inside of our tool. Like that's, I don't mean to be the patent. We didn't really do anything here. We just presented them with the tool, but this is like people taking our tool and like really running with it. And I'm so happy for them. I know just from preliminary data conversations that we've had, they've been able to crush it quite a bit.
Yeah. I think it's just also just watching them grow almost over time. Right. I think that's like watching them test out all the different offers, and like a lot of hard work went into this, and probably thousands of hours of, research and testing and dollars spent. So this is very, very proud of the team of like kind of what they did here.
Oh yeah. All right. Cool. Well, I think that probably concludes this episode of the CRO Rodeo. This is a fun one. I'm excited to do more of this as well. Yuxin, dude, thank you so much for pulling this up. This is a great find, and I'm really glad we had a chance to break this down.
Cool. All right. See you guys in the next episode.
See you.